Welcome back to Good Morning, LaLa, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Ron Robinson, the founder of Ron Robinson, fashion icon. I mean, here in Los Angeles, you are a legend.
Fred Siegel, Morrow, Ron Robinson. It's like a weekly go-to.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I appreciate that very much because it's been, this year we're celebrating 40 years of being in business, which is, and listening to the two young ladies before about how things evolve and all the things that you need to do. And it's, I mean, I would love to talk about all of those things. We're very fortunate. We've done a lot of really cool things over the years and a lot of great memories.
So tell us your personal story. How did you get into the industry?
I came to Los Angeles in 1968 and I had to get a job and I wanted to be here. And my history of my parents, my grandparents were all merchants, so I knew how to do that. And I got a job in a clothing store. A friend of mine was working for Fred Siegel, and I eventually got a job there. And I became a salesperson, and then a manager, and a vice president of the company, and then I leased my own store. I opened my own store at the location on Melrose Avenue. And since we have another location in Santa Monica as well, and a website and a lot of other things that have created over the years.
There's so much history with Fred Siegel, but why the loyalty?
You know, it's interesting. That's part of, I think it's part of, yes, we have to have the greatest product. We have to have something new and unique that we can bring to the customer that they're not going to find elsewhere. I've got a particular little focus that I take care of to get that done. We can talk about that. But the other part is the relationships that we've built with the customer directly. That's really key. I have customers today who have been my customer since 1978. I just talked to Billy Crystal, for example, was just in the store, in my Santa Monica store. He and Janice have been shopping with us since 1975 when I worked for Fred. There's a whole group, but I really think that relationship building is part of it, and that's what we want to teach to our team on the floor, rather than, it's not about just selling a product.
Well, it's art, really, and you do have traditional art as well, but when you walk in your store, it's an experience. And you never plan on buying anything. You know, it's just the fact, and it happens, you know, but it's
that means it's really good.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? It's really, it is the ultimate window shopping that turns into something else. Because, and also all the people that work in your stores they're artists themselves generally, or whatever. So it's a real great experience.
There is a big part of it as an art form, and I try to teach that as well. I try to express it. Don't you know, we have to first know our product 100%. We have to know the narrative of what is the essence of that product, and every product has a narrative to it. It has a story: who made it, why they make it, how it's made. All of those things, and not just apparel. It could be home design, it could be cosmetic and beauty, it could be jewelry. All of those things have the narrative, and we want to talk about that. I want to have that interaction that you talked about, that you come in and you fall in love with something. I just have to have that because that's wonderful, and that takes just a little part of maybe urging you along, but not selling you. You're going to want to buy that.
It's creating the experience of almost like this utopia, this world where everything has a story, where everything's curated, where things really do speak to you. And really, Ron Robinson and Fred Siegel is one of the few places, I think, in the world that have done it with such success. I mean, how many department stores do you hear in pop songs or rock songs?
Right.
Fred Siegel's dropped in all of them. You know, there's something truly special about that, and about you, Ron.
It's interesting. The years. I'm thinking about so many things you just said. It's crazy. I'm writing a lot of these memoirs down now, because to celebrate the 40 years, I've got a bunch of stories, and I've been pushed by Karen Mina, who's our fashion director now, and she's been with me 24 years. She says, you've got to write them down. My wife says, you've got to write them down. So we're doing that. We're creating a whole memoir. It'll come out in about, let's see, we're in September. It'll come out in October or November. We're planning to finish it.
Love it.
And have it out. And we'll celebrate our anniversary of 40 years there in both our Melrose store and our Santa Monica store. But these stories are incredible as I think back on them. Some of the things that have happened and some of the ways that I'm hesitant to sort of drop names, but,
Sure, but
you
how-
know, we do have an incredible
Oh,
clientele
but what have you learned about yourself through all these stories and these memoirs? And
that I'm never done, that I'm never finished. I've always got some, and I've got to reinvent myself both personally and as our retail store all the time, especially in this market. And you mentioned the stores that all of these stores that aren't there now, that maybe have gone by the wayside and we've been able to maintain for 40 years. It's an accomplishment in itself, and somebody has to remind me of it because I don't see it that way, but I'm being reminded of it often enough that the art form, the creativity of being able to find something new within yourself and then be able to expose it. For example, you mentioned art in a traditional, literal sense. In our new flagship in Santa Monica, I took it because it had these big walls, and it had a courtyard in it. And it just immediately spoke to me about what new things we could do there. We could be not only a fashion, but we could, be an art gallery. And we're hanging art every 6 weeks. A new artist comes that we exhibit, and many of them, most of them, are Los Angeles based. We're very focused on how to bring unique people that are Los Angeles based into the marketplace.
And now you've got a marketplace online. Your
We have a
boutique.
marketplace online.
Tell us about that.
I went online actually in 1994 or 1995. And I was urged to do so because somebody said, well, you've got to be online. And this was the time when the internet was just being developed, and there was no business model that really was successful at the time. It was, people were going up online and they were going down. And we did it, and thank goodness I did, because we actually used that in 1999. I used that internet. We had a fragrance that we were exclusive on. I bought every bottle that the maker had. She was making it in her kitchen, and we sold it, and we sold it, and we sold it, and we went online. And it so happened that there was an interview with a wonderful actress from Beverly Hills 90210. And it was a Q&A, and she said, I bought this stuff at Ron Robinson, and she called it stuff. The question was, what fragrance are you wearing? And she said, I'm wearing this stuff that I got at Ron Robinson, and when I wear it, my boyfriend goes wild. And our phones went wild.
That's funny.
And our phones went wild. And thank goodness we went on the internet at that time.
World Wide Web.
Because then we got all this, and the retailer in me said, uh-oh, that's a problem. Here's people all over the country buying this fragrance. They've never smelled it. I know I'm going to get every bottle back.
Oh, no.
Which I didn't.
Of course not.
Which I didn't. And from that, the next creative energy was to think about, I've got now all of these people online across the United States that have bought fragrance. I know they're going to change fragrance at some point. I created a fragrance online, communicating with 100 women across the United States. No one has done it before. We actually created a fragrance. It took 8.5 months. And just this morning, I want to say this, I just got we're now distributed. We sell in Barney's, it's called If, and we sell it in Barney's and we sell it at Montage Resort. But just this morning, I got an email from our Japanese distributor that we were just nominated as Vogue Japan, as a Vogue Japan nominee for beauty.
All right, well,
product.
congratulations.
It's great.
Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
in that celebration and in the balance of
Yeah.
today's topic, you leave tomorrow to celebrate. Tell us just a little bit about
that's the
that.
other part. You know, here's the part that you've been talking about so beautifully. I mean, I just wanted to, I was standing listening going, oh, yeah. Yes, whatever she said. And it's the balance of, now in my time in life, and before, it should have been before, but it wasn't as much as now. It's the balance of time versus money, if you break it down to two words, you know. And we have to take care of ourselves too, and have a wonderful vacation time or time to reconnect ourselves. And we're going tomorrow. We've got a little boat that we rented
Yeah.
with six couples, and we're going to the Greek islands, and then we'll go to Cinque Terre, Portofino in Italy.
Bucket list.
Yeah,
Bucket
so-
list, right?
Right.
Congratulations.
Well,
You've worked
it's-
hard.
it's about
celebrating
time.
40 years, and it's an icon place. Saturdays, we go to Kundalini Yoga. We go to Morrow Cafe. We go and
thank
do a little
you.
shopping.
Ah, great.
It's a total LA 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 Land.
Thank you.
For sure.
love
So
that.
go there, have fun, do some shopping.
Enjoy the vacation.
Yeah.
I just read an
appreciate it.
article about vacation, and they said the more vacations you take, the longer you live.
Well, then I plan to take a
Live very
lot
long.
of vacations.
Live very long.
And I plan to get my bottle of If. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.